and you'll see kind of why. Well, you'll see kind of why I'm doing this when I have some things here to do
Moose
a
and
little show and
squirrel.
tell.
The moose and squirrel.
Moose and squirrel. If you see the lead in slide there, you see it. Good
Yeah,
morning.
I don't yet, but I don't see any human beings on the
Well, they'll
comments
show
either.
up maybe. If they don't, we'll just talk.
We'll just have a fine day.
Yeah, you'll because we'll talk about this anyway, and you'll like it. I promise.
We'll just have a.
It's got
Can't
and there's
remember what movie that was from, but we'll just have a fine day.
just
Oh,
fine.
it was the Pacific.
Tina's here.
There she is.
I gotta get that. I gotta get the
Good
DVD.
morning.
I gotta get the DVD set for
Good
that.
morning. You got to get the DVD for what?
Pacific. I don't have it. I've
Oh,
only
man.
seen a little
Oh,
bit of that.
dude. I've got it on DVD and it's on my tablet.
Yeah, I need to get it.
Anytime I want to watch it, I watch it. But
She's sharing and liking. Thank you, Tina, for sharing and
when
liking.
Eugene Sledge came back from the Pacific, literally, his daddy said they were going out dove hunting, and he was like, "We're just out here on a grand morning, and we're gonna celebrate a fine morning or whatever." And I was like, and then he had a hard time with it.
Oh, Chuck's at a meeting. I started to say hi, Chuck, and but good, he might be back in a bit. So he had a hard time with hunting
Why is Chuck in a meeting?
on a
Why
Saturday
why
morning.
does Chuck still have to be in a meeting?
On a Saturday morning, yeah. Well, maybe it's something. Maybe it's something fun.
I hope so.
I'm sure it's
Yeah,
not.
I mean, Eugene came back from the war and he went out and hunted doves and he was successful, of course, and then had a breakdown after the deal.
I don't doubt it.
He killed a limit of doves and then I'm out, dude.
Oh, that's when the organizer set the meeting up. He doesn't make the decisions anymore. Good for him. I can appreciate that.
Well,
I remember this. Well, since we're just us, not many people here yet. When my cousins came back from Vietnam, I remember my mom saying they always that whole family, and I was on the periphery, mind you, of the main part. But my mom, good morning, Carol.
good morning, Carol.
And they all hunted and fished. I mean, that's what I did. I went. That's one reason I was so attracted to that side of the family. Well, both sides of the family actually did a lot of that, but they did more. But my cousin one of my cousins that was in Vietnam, when he came back, I remember he was like hunted all the time. It's all he did when he was a kid, as much as he could. And it's kind of like you. And I remember my mom saying, I bet he don't pick up a gun for a long time. And I thought about that. And as far as I know, though, he did. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't have any trouble with it because we never talked about that, but he might have. I wouldn't doubt it. He's the guy I told you.
All of my adult male dad, uncles, etc., had been over there.
Yeah.
And they never
Good morning, Tony.
that never stopped them. They hunted and fished the rest of their lives. And
Bill was the guy I told you that I'm pretty sure he was a tunnel rat over there. So I can't imagine him not having some kind of trauma. But
well, they all did.
But maybe, yeah, well, that's right. They did. Some dealt with it different, but
you saw it in my dad and Bill Voiles
yeah.
and guys like that. We were there when it happened.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I always
Anyway.
wondered about that with the pilot. You know, I knew a lot of helicopter pilots that were in them, and they were almost all the helicopter pilots I knew were
My,
Vietnam trained. But I never, you know, that was a different. Of course, they were in a different position, but they weren't
well,
on the ground.
the guys that I've always been friends with, the
Good
guys
morning, Miss Brenda.
I'm not sure how I just met guys that were like crew chief guys,
Yeah.
door gunners, but that's who I've known my whole life.
Well, that's what Dale was, wasn't he?
My buddy Cliff Pabst was a door gunner and a crew chief, and you know, he'll trap a muskrat or he'll fish, but he won't go shoot a deer.
You
Ever.
don't do
and it affects everybody differently.
different. Yeah, sure does. Well, your Uncle Dale was a door gunner, wasn't he?
He was a door gunner, but he'd shoot a deer. He'd shoot a deer that was on the neighbor's property, like 100 miles away, if he could. So, you know, I don't get it. It's a trauma's trauma, and it doesn't manifest itself in the same way, I guess.
While everybody's coming in, I showed Mark this a few minutes ago. This is what Brenda and I did yesterday. We went down to Kelly's house. Kelly was at the beach, and which Brenda's going to kill her for because she didn't take her with her.
I can't even believe that she went to the beach and didn't take her mom with her.
I know.
Here, watch my chickens while I'm at the beach.
Well, we brought the eggs home. I mean, if we're gonna watch them, we're gonna bring home some booty. Well, 27 eggs we took out of the nest yesterday, and that was like, well, I think it'd been a couple of days since they'd been picked, so to speak. But I told Mark they had 3 dozen on the counter, so we brought home 3 dozen beautiful golden eggs that will be great. Carol, you're in for trouble today. I'm going to take because you're going to see a number of squirrels that you've never imagined here before.
We give 90% of our eggs away. Our kids haven't bought eggs in years, literally.
Yeah, you give them away to family.
I mean, we just take, like, Shauna takes the eggs into town and gives them to the kids, that don't have chickens. And I'm okay with that.
They don't have chickens because you do.
We have a lot of chickens. And I wouldn't have a chicken. If it was just me, like living here, I wouldn't have a chicken.
You wouldn't have a chicken.
I wouldn't have a guinea. I wouldn't have a chicken. I'd have several horses, which I already do. But and dogs. I would have dogs.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have any chickens.
You just said something. I caught something you just said. Do you say you guys have guineas now?
No, we had when we bought this property.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There were 6 guineas living on it.
Ah.
And before we moved in, they were all gone. And I wonder what happened to them. It wasn't a fox. It wasn't no coyote. It was a local from opal. That
Oh, okay.
I'll guarantee you they were still alive and living in opal.
But it wasn't you then. That's what I thought. Maybe it was
No,
you.
no, no, no. I say nay, nay.
Nah, nah. Okay, guys, I can't see the chat right now, so
What are we looking at?
well, that's the screen for that. You should be seeing today's.
I see today's screen, but I don't see that.
You don't see what?
Somebody's driving Tina to the brink today. It's
Oh, the
sunny.
dogs, I bet.
It's sunny but chilly,
I bet the dogs are running in and out.
so they don't know what they want. Yeah,
Tony, we hadn't started on the squirrels yet. If you're still wait, just wait, buddy.
we haven't even so it's not sunny here at all. It's
No.
like the grayest sky ever today. It's definitely gonna rain or snow.
What's the temperature?
Hold on, I'll tell you. Hold on.
We're holding on. You hold on. Pull, Emil, pull. All right, what movie's that? I'll give 50 Jeff.
What are we referencing? Come on, people. Come on, get your prize for understanding what we're talking about. Pull, Emil, pull.
Oh, what was I getting ready to do?
It's 57, so it's going to be rain.
Oh, I know what I couldn't. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. Brenda, can you see our thermostat? Brenda says it's 67 here.
Moose and squirrel moose. Moose. It's 67. Yeah, we're 10 degrees cooler.
Brenda said the rooster that Kelly has is a very handsome guy, and he crowed at us a lot. Yes, he did. Kelly thought he might harass us, and I said, well, even my bad legs can kick. But he didn't bother me a bit. He came right up to me and didn't. Maybe he caught word that I was not to be dealt with. I'm not sure about it, but he didn't bother me.
We haven't had a rooster for a long time, and we've got two now. Because this year, the Baumgar, I guess they didn't know what a pullet was or a rooster was.
Must not.
So when you bought like 10 pullets, you might get 2 roosters out of the deal.
Which you did, didn't you?
Well, we got 1 rooster out of the deal. But our nephew he bought 10 pullets, and he got half were roosters and half were hens.
That's not very. I believe
that's a pretty bad percentage right there.
Yeah,
so we got a hen. We got a rooster from him. We got a rooster from a buddy of mine in town. We had one that passed away because he was a little bit of a male gender part. He passed away early, but we have two roosters right now, and haven't had them for a long time. And one of them crows, and he's an Americana, black and white Americana, and he's beautiful. And his buddy is I don't even know what he is. Yellow. He's a yellow chicken.
He's a yellow chicken.
He's a yellow chicken, and he can't crow near as well as the black and white Americana. And they're fighting all the time.
I'm not sure what Kelly's is, but he's a good crow.
Like, one of these days, I'll probably kill both of you with a rake or something.
when they
Because
start.
you'll come up behind me and attack me, and I don't like that. But anyway,
Kelly,
that black and white one though, he's gorgeous. He's the most beautiful rooster I've ever seen in my life.
really,
Yeah, and
that,
I hope he treats me well, because then I will treat him well.
you won't have to take the rake to.
If he like flies up and hits me in the back of the head, he'll be dead.
Yeah,
Just saying. I'm just saying.
I got to tell you a story about roosters being handsome. I went
I love roosters. I love having them and hearing them. But I'm
well,
not going to allow them to flog me.
no, I had to go to Oklahoma, Ada, Oklahoma, one time to
Yeah.
fix an airplane. It was
Hey, no, Ada.
Ada, indeed. You've been through there?
Oh, I've been there many, many, many
Well, I
times.
had to go to Ada, and I was there fixing an airplane for a guy out of flew up for a bank in First Mississippi National Bank, I believe it was. It could have been State Bank, but anyway, it's First Mississippi Bank, and they had a really strange accident. They had a prop blade break off in flight, and it shook the motor plumb out. It almost shook it off the wing. The only thing that was holding the end, because those once they get that far out of balance, they're almost instantly they shake so bad they just rip themselves off the wing.
Right.
That's just how those airplane, especially turbines, are, because they're spinning so fast.
And some poor kid on the ground that's like out there chopping whatever gets thumped on the head.
Well, hopefully not. I think they eventually. Actually, I think they might have found that blade. They put out flyers for people.
Some kid that was out there roping cattle like got thumped in the head.
Boing. Anyway, this guy. So he shows up about we're there Sunday through Friday. I mean, and he's going to try to fly. We're trying to repair the airplane enough that he can fly it to Nashville so we can do the big overhaul fix. And so about Wednesday or Thursday, he shows up, or a little early, honestly, but then I found out why. And he disappears. We're going to go to dinner. The first night he's there, we were going to take him out to dinner or go out with him and whichever. And but he's nowhere around it. We couldn't find him. He finally shows up, and we're like, "Yeah, hey, where you been?" I can't think of his name. He was a kind of a real country guy. And he said, "Well, I've been." He just kind of mumbled. And finally, he told us where he'd been. He said, "Well, I was up at the cockfight arena. They still had arenas at that time in Oklahoma where I guess cockfighting was legal. I think." And he said, "Now I don't."
Of course it was.
He said, "I don't." Well, the arena was just up the road from us. I mean, it was big and public, and I saw it. And he said, "No, I don't go." He said, "I don't go there for the cockfights." He said, "Oh no, I just go there to look at them." He said, "I just think they're handsome." And I said, "Yeah, I bet you do." And
they are handsome.
And they are handsome birds. They are, but I don't think that's why he was there.
So you go back to my mom and dad's place, and there was lots of cockfighting in that southern Ohio, northeast Kentucky country. Lots of it.
Well, it's funny, you still see all these.
And you drive around the country and you see like these barrels tied on top of a fence post.
Yeah.
With a chain hanging out of it and a bird attached to it. And you're like, okay, what do you do? And they're all roosters. And it's like, okay, what do you do?
Yeah, they may have 50 of them.
Oh, we just have, we just like roosters.
Yeah.
No, you love cockfighting.
Because otherwise you wouldn't have.
My mom's dad was huge into that.
Was he? My uncles were too. I can remember.
We had spurs hanging in the barn and
Yeah,
all that
they did.
stuff, and
They did too.
I'm just like, I, it must have been some grand pumpkin, but
I guess.
I never did understand it. But
No, joy. I mean, it's not
and
legal.
I love looking at a rooster, a good looking rooster. I love.
Just like any other
They're
bird.
a good looking bird,
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
there are many breeds, but you don't have to let them kill each other.
It's funny though. I don't know if it's legal anywhere in the United States anymore
I
legally.
don't think so. I think
But it's
cockfights
funny.
are
You
legal.
drive. I promise you, I can drive around this county, and I bet I
And
find out.
find all the cockfights you want.
Well, there'd be, but I mean, there's cockfighting rooster houses just like you're talking about, and there might be 30 or 40 behind the house. Now, if they're not cockfighting, what are they doing with them?
Well, and if you go down on the border,
Well,
especially,
they do. I realize that, but they ain't. These guys ain't all going
but
down there.
these guys are all, like Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia. Name your state that's in Appalachia, at least.
Yeah, you're probably gonna find it
You're
still
going
out.
to find a cockfight going on, which is,
It's a
I
cultural.
guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
But they are a handsome bird.
Anyway, I got some more show and tell before we go any further. I got a gift. I got a present. I got a gift in the mail the other day from Tina and Chuck. So thank you, Tina and Chuck. And part of it was this custom made.
I thought you were going to blame me.
Oh no! I ain't blaming you for any of this. This custom made mug.
I thought Brenda was going to blame me.
Oh, well, she might do that anyway.
That's beautiful.
This tumbler, which I guess it's from the Adirondack Park. I don't know if you can read that or not.
That's way cool.
But they had the guy that does this. They had him make sure it had bears and moose on here, and and a squirrel. So it's sort of a custom made tumbler for this show, our show. I love that. I got this postcard.
Thank you, Tina. That's beautiful. And Chuck,
one of the 1,000 islands that's up there where they go to Wellesley Island. This is one of the little islands around that.
What? Where at?
Wellesley Island. It's in the St. Lawrence where they go.
Oh,
Tina
up
and
in
Chuck
St.
go
Lawrence Seaway.
Yeah, where they go to vacate.
That's
part of it's on the New York side.
beautiful.
Yeah, part of it's New York, part of it's Ontario.
That's
what a neat. Well, I still would love to live on an island like that. I swear, I just that would be perfect. And the gift included
That's
this.
because you think there'd be a
what?
Marianne would be there.
Oh, well, not if there wasn't any coconut cream pies.
Are you a Marianne or are you a ginger?
I'm a Marianne. This Ulu came with it.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, Tina, I don't know. Did this
I could have used one of those yesterday, actually.
Did that come from a trip to Alaska, or did this come from Adirondack also? I don't know if you can see this part, but down here near the edge.
That's gorgeous.
It's got a map of Alaska with stars, like the symbol on the flag.
Well, it says Alaska on the handle.
Yeah, it does, but it's got a picture of it. I mean, a map drawn here, and it's got the Ursa Major and the North Star on it. I think that's on their flag. Anyway, that's cool and sharp. And this, which I think is
but wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. We're not done. This really cool book that is just full. This is all about
what was it? What was the name of it?
The name of it is The 1,000 Islands and
1,001.
101 points of interest, and then some. This is all about all the waterways around Wellesley Island up in the St. Lawrence River, and it's got all these cool charts, like like you would see for navigation charts. Each page has that, and then some old postcards down here, and they tell
Oh,
about the postcards.
that is very cool.
It is really cool, and I've been looking. I've got somewhere here in my stash. I've got a book of the Tennessee River map from the Ohio all the way up to Knoxville,
And that's from Miss Tina, right?
This is
And
from Miss
Chuck.
Tina and Mr. Chuck. Yep, right here.
And he needs another book, like he needs a new hole in his head.
Hey, I always need another book.
You can call him for Raymond, which is a hole in your head.
That's true. So this is where it came from. I think I don't know how much of this stuff, but at least part of it came from.
That's cool.
This is cool.
That is very cool.
This is a business card, and listen to this. If you can hear it, this card is aluminum. This is aluminum, and it's got his anybody wants to grab their camera and take a picture. There's his Facebook and his Venmo probably.
So I was clicking my cowboy boots heels together last night.
Yeah.
I was watching the Boston Red Sox whoop up on the Tampa Bay Rays. And I was clicking my heels together. Click, 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 click. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "That's the sound of a ivory-billed woodpecker."
2 knots.
They did a 2 knot.
Yeah.
And then she looked at me and like, okay.
I
didn't know I married an insane person.
Let me see if I can do this without messing myself up here. Let me make myself big a moment.
Yeah.
That's the card.
That's cool.
Yeah, come on, focus.
That's very cool. And the fact that you did it and it worked is way cooler.
I did it. Okay, I may go back.
Yeah, you went right, but and then we're back.
My day is done. You guys, see you guys.
We're out. We've got moose and squirrel.
There's also two things that I didn't bring up here. I forgot, and that was she also sent along a couple of bags of coffee beans from up at the don't say it like Utica Coffee Bean Company.
Black Rifle Coffee.
So I don't have it in my cup today because I had something already in my grinder, but I will tomorrow because I'll be running out. So I'll be drinking Utica coffee probably next weekend, and if I don't drink it all before then. But anyway, so thank you, Tina. Thank you, Chuck. I really appreciate that. You guys, of course, as they say, I never expect things like that. It's always appreciated. It's certainly never required. I mean, but I really appreciate it.
Hi, buddy.
Well, and you guys know you wouldn't have bought this if you didn't already know how much I love books. So, and this is a really cool one because another thing I really like and wish I had a pile of is the old postcards. Brenda has a few that she started collecting them, and then we kind of got sidetracked. But I don't know. I just love old postcards. The color they use, the just how I don't know. There's something about it. It reminds me of Kodak Kodachrome pictures. I think is why I like them so much. That's sort of what they look like when they age a bit. Their byline is "Wake the hell up." That's the Utica coffee people's "Wake the hell up." I like that. That's straight to the point.
I'm good with that too. Come here, Wolfgang. Come here, buddy.
So today we're going to talk about squirrels again, but It's
Love
going to be a
comedy.
different kind of squirrel. We're going to talk about squirrel hunters, but they're a different kind of squirrel hunter. We're going to talk about a little bit first, though, because moose and squirrels go together here.
This in
We're going
squirrel.
to talk a little bit about that. I put this picture of Rocky and Bullwinkle on the screen because look at what Boris and Natasha are doing.
Who would have thought that, like, I love Bullwinkle? And who would have thought that would get my ribs broken twice by that species?
A moose. Well, Boris
Squirrel. Well, I have a scar. I have a little scar on my middle finger that I'm not flipping anybody off, but I have a little scar on my middle finger that's from Rocky.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dad's like, well, why don't you just grab him
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you can take him home for a pet? And
Oh, yeah, the flying squirrel.
he turned around in his hide and like bit the holy hell out of me, and I let him go.
So
And
fast.
but what a dumbass! Like,
Well, you're a
I've
kid.
been bitten by flying squirrels to the point where I needed stitches, and I've had moose break my ribs on the same side two times.
So you could be, what did they call him? Evil? Was it? I think it was evil.
And this was probably my favorite cartoon growing up, and I'm like, how how has this happened?
Well, they were always trying to kill moose.
Maybe you shouldn't laugh at Bullwinkle and Rocky.
I forgot to say good morning to Miss Mary Ellen. Hi, and thank you for coming in this morning. So we're going to talk a little bit about that stuff, and as always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment because apparently that makes YouTube happy, and all that stuff.
We have a new watcher.
Well, I think she's been here before, but I'm not positive.
I'm way happy to have her.
Yep, always. So one of the first thing I'm going to talk about a little bit though is the juxtaposition or the cars and moose.
Juxtaposition.
I'm trying. Well, is that the right way to put that? I guess that's.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about yet.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about. We're going to head the.
You don't want to hit one with your car.
No, you don't. And this is why. Cars and moose incidents do never pay out. They're never good. Never.
You say nay.
Even in a big truck, they're not good. But when you're in a car, you might as well expect it to come in and sit with you because they are coming through. And I've seen many pictures and many accident photos, and I didn't put the graphic ones in here. Most of the time, the moose is laying inside the car or hanging out the back side of the car. Moose are so tall that when you hit them in a low car like this, they immediately just fold up and come through the windshield. Now, deer can do this because whitetails will jump. And a lot of times they'll jump up and catch a windshield, but they don't do anywhere near this much damage.
No.
Okay, but to start that off, this is the number that absolutely blew me away. It's estimated that 41 million squirrels get killed on the roads each year. And that's probably conservative, considering how many I see dead on the road.
Oh, my God.
It makes them one of the most commonly hit animals on roadways. This high number is attributed to an increase in squirrel populations, and of course that varies, but their presence in both urban and natural or rural environments and their tendency to cross highways while searching for food. Vehicles of people, I had to throw this in here. Vehicles of people are rarely harmed in these accidents, I had to put. However, while a precise national annual total isn't available, Alaska alone experiences somewhere between 50 or 500 to 800 moose vehicle collisions per year, and they think that's low too. Most of the areas in Alaska will tell you that they're sure that they're over 800. So we're going to talk about that just for a minute. Where's my go button? So moose vehicle collisions in Alaska are particularly high number of those because there are so many moose up there. There's a lot of moose country in Alaska. Its large moose population and extensive road network, enough roads anyway, which estimates ranging from 5 to 800. Seasonal impact. Severe winters can lead to significant increases in number of collisions. That's because they get along the edges of roads and things feeding areas where they've been cleared off, or they walk in the roadways that have been packed down, so it's easier for them to get around too. Vehicle accidents are considerably more likely to result in human death than crashes that involve deer and other animals, and that's according to the Mialik Insurance Company. I didn't know there was such a thing, but I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure. Moose collisions do happen in the lower 48. I don't know. Do you have many moose collisions in Wyoming, Mark?
Oh yeah.
They're local. They tend to be localized.
I hit one in a game of fish truck one day.
Oh, you did?
I personally did.
Did it come up over the hood?
No, it was a juvenile, but I mean, it was like, holy crap, there's a moose. It was dark,
Yeah.
Come around a curve and over a bridge, and there was a moose standing in a bridge, and wasn't nothing I could do. But anyway.
Of course, in the lower 48, they're primarily along the upper tier states. Maine would probably have the most because they have a lot of moose habitat in Maine. And they also think this is all really under-reported data because they don't think they don't all get reported. But it's a big deal. And if you can see that map at the bottom, that's a collision. That's a map that the Kenai Peninsula put together, probably their highway division or somebody. I can't remember who put it out. And it shows all the really hot spots where they have a lot of
excuse me,
moose, automobile, that includes trucks and everything, problems. And you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 standing in the middle of the road right there. Moose on road, high crossing area. You don't see these signs just everywhere.
Nope.
And on this particular season, there's a sign that says 148 moose killed on Kenai Road since July 1st. I don't know what year that was taken in. And at that picture on the right, you can see why or how these things happen. There's moose. That's probably a cow and it looks to me like there's a nearly grown calf beside her. So I think that's probably a cow. It could be a bull and a cow, but I don't think so. Anyway, those vehicles appear to be slowing down to stop, so hopefully nothing got hit there. In Canada, there are tens of thousands of annual wildlife vehicle collisions, with an estimated 45,000 large animal collisions alone. Those specific numbers for moose vary by province and reporting, while many incidents only cause property damage, fatalities, and injuries to both drivers and wildlife occur. Newfoundland and Labrador have the most significant moose populations and therefore tend to have the most vehicle incidents, 500 to 39 a year average. Some statistics on moose collisions in Newfoundland and Labrador, they have, like I said, 539 average. Border Canada contact across there, well, again, 45,000 total. These collisions are a serious threat to motorists and moose. They like, I can't stress enough how hard they are on automobiles and people inside them. The financial costs associated with these collisions can be significant. You might as well figure on the total vehicle. And 95% of them result in property damage or injury. You don't hit a moose and it not cause some damage. Now let's go back up to Alaska for a minute. I meant to move this slide up, so I apologize for bouncing. But during a 20-year span, 2000 to 2020, and this is just in the Kenai Peninsula, mind you. This is just a lower part of Alaska. This isn't anywhere near the whole state or anywhere near where all the moose are in the state, but it's significant. They average 240 moose killed per year. 51% of those involve calves, 42% involve cows, and 70% involve bulls. Now, those numbers, if you're a wildlife person or you're a wildlife manager in Alaska, state or federal, I'm sure, those numbers are important because when calves are killed, that reduces the number of moose available, period. When cows are killed and the female calves are killed, that reduces the number of future calves. So that's it's most deer populations in the South. The buck population isn't as important as Mark's camera's halfway covered there, as the cow population, because one buck or one bull moose can breed a lot of cows. So when you lose cows, that's a big deal. I don't know if I put it in here. I hope I did. No, here. Yeah. So what can we learn from Kenai Peninsula roadkill moose? Almost 1,000 of them have been sampled over the years by ADNF and G wildlife biologists over the past 10 years. That'd be the Alaska Fish and Game Department of Fish and Game wildlife biologists over the past 10 years. Their physical condition when they're killed, they're checking to see if there might be other reasons why they, if their illness, that maybe that's causing them to be on the roads, or they're out looking for food, or all kinds of things. But they also help biologists learn about the age structure of the ones that are being hit and the general population. Predicts the potential for population growth, believe it or not. Biologists also look at bone marrow fat, since this is the fat reservoir to be metabolized. Low levels indicate malnutrition in an individual moose. So what happens? Mark and I think you just listened to this show also on Meat Eater. What happens, or maybe you didn't, but I did anyway. What happens to roadkill moose meat in Canada or Alaska? In recent decades, about 240 moose per year were killed on the Kenai Peninsula roads. The Alaska Department of Public Safety keeps a list of salvage teams which recover animals for butchering and human consumption. So they're trying to eat these animals, not waste the meat. When there's a roadkill moose, it is provided to charity lists in different areas of the state for free. There's a list of qualifications for the roadkill program that can be found. I didn't put that address in there because I didn't figure anybody here was wanting to get in on the roadkill program. So if you do want to read more about it, the Kenai Peninsula Moose News, real thing, you can look that up online, and it will tell you more about it. This person at the bottom works at ADF and G in Anchorage as part of their education and outreach program, and they like to spread the word about this. The reason I brought this part up was on the Meat Eater Network. They do a lot of podcasts, but now a lot of the podcasts are actually produced also videoed, so you can watch them. And there's a guy on there recently. I'm not sure where he's from. I don't think he's from. He might be from Arkansas. Some of those guys are from Arkansas. And
Clay Newcomb.
Well, it's not. This is not Clay. It's not Clay that was doing this. The guy that was cooking. There's a guy that evidently in the right circles is pretty famous for cooking wildlife or game.
Oh yeah.
And he got a call from a friend of his in Alaska. That friend of his in Alaska was friends with one of these moose salvage guys.
Yeah.
And they called this. He called him up and said, "Would you like to come to Alaska and cook a moose?" And he'd never done that before. He cooked.
Oh yeah, he did the big, like he grilled
Yeah.
pit boss to moose or something.
Well, he had to go up there, and he said he had to have charcoal shipped. He said he had to have a
Yeah,
pallet of charcoal
yeah.
shipped to Alaska.
Pallets of charcoal.
He tried to ship a something else up there to help him. He thought he'd take an old bed frame and then stretch it out, split it like you do when you're roasting a hog.
Right.
But the one he got didn't work. So they went around and they went by a campground, and lo and behold, there in the back of the campground sat this giant portable grilling unit or barbecue unit. And they got that thing and they got it running again and they fixed it up, and that's how they grilled the moose. But think about it, he had to have a pallet of charcoal sent to Alaska. I just
literally.
now I think he's got to deal with the charcoal company because, like I said, he goes around doing this.
Hardwood charcoal, not
yeah, right. That's why he sent it up. Yeah, he needed good charcoal and to roast it because he knew he was going to have a lot of good heat to cook that much meat. And they did. And what they did was they invited everybody in the area community to come and have moose on him, basically. And so they fed 200. I think he said they fed 250 people that day.
Yeah.
Now they cooked other stuff besides the moose because the moose ended up only being about 250 pounds of meat.
So this whole like, let's pick up roadkill and eat it movement has just happened in like the last 10 years.
Yeah, but yeah, they're about
prior to that. My department, the people I worked for, were like, if that animal was hit by a vehicle, it's full of like all kind of bad juju, and you can't really eat it. You know,
right.
It's got all this anxiety that it went through, and it's just not edible, and and we finally kind of jumped on board and like, well, if you hit it with a truck, you want to take it home and eat it, go ahead. And I think that's the best way to use these animals. Like, if a semi truck's gonna hit a moose in front of your house, you should be able to take it to the house and eat it.
Well, why just waste it?
Yeah. I mean, we told people for years,
I know. Yeah, I know.
Decades that it wasn't fit to eat, and I'm like, well, why? Anyway.
Hang on. I got a thought. I'm just trying to do something. I'm trying to multitask here. That first link was about information. This link I'm posting now is how you'd sign up to get in on the moose program. So if you just want to look at it out of curiosity, I'd say it might be interesting to see what you have to do to be a moose salvage guy. And back to what you were saying. Many years ago, when I was still living in Jonesboro, Kevin, we won't say the other, just because we're on the air.
Not. I didn't say it.
No, I know. I didn't. I almost.
Even though I was eating meat.
I almost said it. His dad worked for the city of Jonesboro and did worked at the court. He fixed things in the courthouse. He worked in the jail when the sheriff called him up. And back then, every once in a while, somebody would hit a moose, or not a moose. No moose in Tennessee. Stop that.
Tennessee, you didn't.
No moose in Tennessee. They would hit a deer, and they would bring it to the jail, and the cooks there would cook it. They would allow them to cook it. But you're right. You couldn't legally do that in Tennessee, although I'm sure people did until a few years ago, and they made it legal. And it, for all the reasons you just said, that people said, "Oh, you can't eat that meat." Well, apparently you can. Now, I will say this: on something like a deer, it's going to have a lot of bruised meat. There's going to be a lot of damaged meat, but there will be a lot of good meat on it too. And on a moose, you'd have even more because they're just so big.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it was always, we always told people for years, and we did, as my buddy would say, data please.
yeah,
We would say that, that when an animal got hit by a vehicle, it was full of adrenaline.
yeah, because they get all from the
And,
shock.
and, and that the meat would be not edible and harmful if you ate that meat.
I've heard that said too.
And we were, for lack of a better term, full of fecal material.
Well, apparently they've been doing this in Alaska for quite a while now, so I guess they may have been the
and
example.
and Canada,
And Canada, yeah.
they it's like, oh, you hit it with a car, well then just take it home and eat it.
Now, granted,
And we had to come up with a program here in Wyoming for people to be able to do that. Like if it's dead on the road and it's not spoiled,
well,
take,
you want it pretty
take it
fresh.
to your house and do whatever you want with it. But you have to contact your local game warden to get it tagged. But it's
Tony,
all,
I need
it's
can
all
you
totally legal now, and it wasn't for years. Like, oh no, we're not going to let you eat that animal. You just hit it with your F-150.
you broke all four legs.
But we're not going to let you have that animal
Did I
because
have a picture of an
there
elk
was
on?
always like an intent deal, like, well, maybe you just ran him over because you wanted him,
Well, I never thought about that. I guess
and
that could be,
it's like,
but that's
why
stupid.
would you damage your $50,000 pickup
Pickup
truck
truck,
to
yeah.
hit a whitetail deer? I mean, seriously.
Tony, I didn't show an elk. I'm sorry. Was that on the picture? The link? I don't know. I haven't looked at those links directly yet. Uh,
Who?
I just read the article, and so I didn't see an elk, and I didn't have one up here. But if you saw one, tell me. That may be a mystery image. Tina, you and Chuck, what's this? You and Chuck can have my share of roadkill moose. Do they have a program for harvesting broccoli that's been hit by a car? Oh, I don't know, Carol. That's a good question. We'll have to look into that. Do you have broccoli roadkills up your way, Mark? That comment?
I can't see the comment.
Oh, you can't see it. Oh, well,
Well, I got to change my view here. Maybe. No, that ain't going to work. Do they have a program for what?
Carol doesn't. She's vegetarian, so she was wondering if they had a roadkill program to pick up road car hit broccoli.
Oh yeah, that's been around for decades.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably okay.
You,
Yeah,
you can have at it.
and cabbage, roadkill cabbage is pretty
I, lo-
common.
and I love me some broccoli, although it tried to kill me one time.
Oh,
It's the only food that's ever tried to kill me was broccoli.
oh, really?
Yeah, my wife had to do the Heimlich on me because of broccoli.
Oh man,
I sucked it down somehow wrong, and
it's stuck.
down I went like Liston, and my wife had to like literally. I'm not being flippant. My wife had to do like the Heimlich on me, and it was because of broccoli. It was not because of moose meat.
So there you go, Carol. Which one's heart better for you, moose
So
meat or
which one's
broccoli?
better for you, Carol?
She's going to sign up for.
I have eaten much moose meat, and
She's going to sign up for the
I've
broccoli
eaten my
program.
fair share of broccoli. But the only one that tried to kill me was broccoli. So
Now, you and I have talked about this before, I think.
maybe.
And I have heard. Well, wait, I'll tell you. You and well, we've talked about all this before, I'm sure. But moose meat. Some people really like moose, and some people aren't as keen on it. You're kind of in the middle.
I'm in the middle because I've had really good moose that taste really good, and I've had really bad moose that taste really bad. So take your pick.
Yeah. What about elk? Where does it stand on your chart?
You know, I have friends that are like, I love elk meat, and I would never eat another beef steak, and I'm like, you're an idiot. If you think elk meat tastes as good as a ribeye steak off of a beef cow, you're an idiot.
And I'm sure that if
I like elk meat, but I don't love elk meat. So there you go.
And I would bet that a cow is better than a bull, just on average.
Yeah, that's definitely.
There is one thing about
you gotta have a little fat in your body to make you tasty.
Okay, Carol has a two-part question for me. How mad would Mark be if the thing that brought about his demise was broccoli? Well, we would have to. We probably wouldn't want to put it on.
Whatever. I would prefer to get like a saddle horn through my chest.
He probably wouldn't want us putting it on his tombstone.
But yeah, if you like, he was killed by broccoli.
Here lies Mark.
That'd be a bad deal to put on your tombstone.
Here lies Mark Zorn, killed by broccoli.
Killed by a little green vegetable thing.
That's actually pretty funny.
But it damn near did.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it. See, I always thought
my wife saved my life that night for damn sure.
Were you at home or are you eating out somewhere?
I was just sitting on the couch watching TV, eating broccoli and whatever we were having. We weren't just eating broccoli. Broccoli was part of the meal.
Okay, part two.
And apparently I sucked it down into my lungs and just fell over.
When Mark did
and then I vomited.
Oh, yeah, great.
And the dogs ate it.
Oh, good. That's good. It didn't go to waste. So here's part two. Listen, when Mark did almost die at the hands of broccoli, did you laugh at him more or less than he laughed at you and the lawnmower yellow jacket? Oh, no way, Carol. He laughed way more at me over the lawnmower yellow jacket thing.
Yeah, because he didn't know about the broccoli dying.
Because I didn't know about it, and I would have laughed a little bit, but no, he laughed a lot about the lawnmower wreck. I can promise.
I wasn't ecstatic at all about the lawnmower part and the rolling
the yellow jacket part,
like the getting hurt, but the yellow jacket part, I laughed a lot about.
Which really,
and I'm still laughing about it.
Which still may not be all that really, nice, but I can live with it. I get it. And I'll tell you something. The day he falls down in a yellow jacket and is riding his horse, I am going to laugh my ass off.
And I will, and you're welcome to.
Mark ever dies
because Yellow Jacket's stinging It's just funny.
Hell, God, it's awful too. Here's something about Mark though. If he ever falls off that horse and takes that horn through the chest on his saddle, and nobody finds him. Here's a here's an ironic thing. Yellow Jackets will probably eat him.
Meat bees.
Meat bees.
And they're
Tina
welcome.
Know,
And they're welcome to me.
Tina wants to know if your wife now minces all broccoli before you get to eat it.
There for a long time, she wouldn't let me eat it.
I imagine.
Literally.
It is kind of a scary thing.
I'm kind of back to eating it now, but she monitors. She, excuse me. I got the episode. She's a close observer.
Now, this is in no shape, form, or fashion a political comment, but was it George Bush the first? George Walker? George Walker. Didn't he? Was he the one that choked on broccoli and threw up at a meeting or something?
He did what?
I think he was at some kind of state dinner and they had broccoli. He didn't like broccoli, and they fed him broccoli, or it was on wherever he was at, and he either choked on it or threw it up in the meeting and was really embarrassed and all that. And he said, "I really just don't like broccoli."
Don't remember
when he was president. When George Walker Bush was president. The first
one. The World War II veteran.
Carol wants to know, World War II veteran. Carol wants to know, will Yellow Jackets need to sign up for a program before they eat Mark? If so, can you paste that link on your Yellow Jacket?
No, they can just show up and eat me.
I don't think they sign up for anything.
I'd be happy being. I would be honored to be eaten by Yellow Jackets. Seriously.
Well, yeah, in some ways, so would I. I get that.
Like, if you're going to be a meat bee and you're going to eat meat, and I'm like laying out there, eat me.
Well, I've told you many times.
Not in a bad way. Just, I would a whole lot rather provide something with a meal than be cremated or put in a goddamn tomb or
embalmed.
That's just my personal opinion. I would rather like a coyote eat me and a raven have my eyes, and it's just the way I look at the world.
I've told Brendan, and I've said this to you, I'm pretty sure I've said it here, but I've told Brendan for years that I'd like to, when I'm dead, I wish he could put me up in a tree somewhere.
Just take me out and hang me in a tree, and you don't even have to wrap me up.
Tina's got she wants you to explain something. She said, "Don't you hate Yellow Jackets? So why would you want them to eat you? And how about a cougar meal?" Well, that'd be okay too, but the Yellow Jackets are going to get any leavings, even if you're a cougar meal.
I don't hate Yellow Jackets. They're my spirit animal.
I hate them.
I don't hate them.
Spirit animal.
I don't hate them. I've had in the last week, I've had like a dozen of them like landing on my arms and things, and I don't hate them. I don't like it when they sting me
and bite you,
but I don't hate them. And
I can't say that, Tina. I'm not over you.
If there's a insect I most identify with, it would be them. It's not this goddamn missed him. It's not houseflies, however.
Oh, I don't like houseflies either, but I can. They don't sting and bite me, so
I'm not a fan. They've never hurt me. They've never done a thing to me that I can tell, but I don't like them. Maybe they bring disease, and I don't know.
Oh, they do their job.
I don't know that they actually do any harm, but I don't like having them about.
Well, let's put it this way: I can deal with them eating me, the bees, after I'm dead. I just don't want like it when they try to eat me alive, and that's been my experience so far. They're the bitingest, stingingest things I've ever
Biting us, stinging us bees on the planet.
been.
I don't want it to be a European like Eastern yellow jacket that
We have
they're
German
mostly
yellow
from
jacket.
Europe. I want it to be a Western meat bee yellow jacket, and I'm okay with that. So
Yeah, we have German yellow jackets.
I don't care if mountain lions eat me either.
No, I'm open for all of it. Once I'm gone, I'd rather be a meal than not. Again, I'll waste it.
Exactly. It's like, why the hell would you like want to like just go to a point where you're not providing anything useful for nothing?
Yeah, exactly.
When you get like embalmed and stuck in a box, you ain't helping nothing out anymore.
Okay.
But what humans don't typically think that way. So where we at? Ohio's
Okay, we're going to talk about squirrel hunters.
God. Oh my God.
But this is a different kind of squirrel hunter. Okay. This picture is called the Ohio's Minuteman Squirrel Hunters. And the defense, this article, there was an article, this painting
of Cincinnati.
in the defense of Cincinnati. So here's the title was Squirrel Hunters in Cincinnati. It was during the Civil War, 1862 to be more precise. It was actually in Cincinnati, Ohio, but also Covington, Kentucky, across the river.
Where the Cincinnati airport is.
Where the Cincinnati airport mark lands when he comes east. This illustration was done by Henry Lovey, and it was titled "The Squirrel Rifles," the Squirrel. Let me make sure I'm reading it. Yeah, the Squirrel Rifles, entertained by the people of Cincinnati in the 5th Street Market House, Cincinnati, September 6th.
Huh.
This print appeared in Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper on September 27th, 1862. So here's the story. In the second year of the Civil War, Confederate troops were ordered to capture Covington, Kentucky, and Cincinnati. Now this is all I just read all about this or listened to it. This is all true stuff here. The South was trying to get Kentucky. Kentucky, while it's often listed as a Confederate state, was really never a Confederate state. There were people in Kentucky who wanted to be a Confederate state, but the state government would never vote to secede. So there was always this conflict in the border states anyway. That's why Tennessee got beat up so bad. But Kentucky did too, to a degree. And what they were doing here was trying to capture Covington and then scare the North by going to Cincinnati, and at the same time try to convince Kentuckians to join the Confederacy. So all this was going on in the background, and so they were ordered to go up and take Cincinnati and take Covington. Major General Horatio Wright, the commander of the Union forces in Kentucky, ordered General Lewis Lew Wallace, he was often called just Lew Wallace, to prepare Covington and Cincinnati's defenses. Upon arriving in Cincinnati, Wallace immediately declared martial law. He issued a call in Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan for a volunteer militia to come forth to help the Union troops. Men in the regular army would fight on the battlefield while the civilians, this was the original thought, while the civilians would prepare trenches and other defensive features to prepare the two communities for attack. You got to realize Cincinnati wasn't a fortified city. They didn't think they would ever be attacked because they were far enough north and across the Ohio River. According to this, I don't know how true this part is. This is in parentheses. Cincinnati residents reportedly cheerfully obeyed the order. I bet they did. Well, they may have, because they were probably afraid they were going to get overrun.
Hurrah! Huzzah!
Huzzah! Huzzah! So here is another picture. And this is, if you look closely, you'll see that this is a picture of many men with rifle guns climbing on board the Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland train. So here's the story of this picture. This is a photostatic copy of an engraving which also appeared in that, a different paper though. This was September 27th, 1862, in an issue of Leslie's Weekly. The illustration shows volunteers shown as squirrel hunters boarding the train for Cincinnati, Ohio at the Xenia Railroad Depot in Greene County on September 5th, 1862. I didn't realize that was Greene County up there. In response for a call for civilians to defend the town from Confederate forces. I'll explain the name squirrel hunters in a minute. I think I've got it here, and if I don't, I'll tell you. Ohio Governor David Todd left Columbus, the state capital, and came to Cincinnati to assist Wallace, General Lew Wallace. Todd immediately ordered Ohio's adjutant general to send any available troops other than those guarding Ohio's southern border to Cincinnati. A number of Ohio counties offered to dispatch men to Cincinnati as well, and civilians from 65 counties, numbering 15,766 men, reported for duty at Cincinnati. These volunteer men became known as the squirrel hunters. Many had no military training and carried antiquated weapons. These guys showed up with their squirrel guns and their hog rifles, their flintlocks, and not current modern what the army was fighting with. They brought what they had at home, and this was squirrel rifles. And it said they also had no uniforms. They just showed up in their regular clothes, which I'll show a picture in a minute. But despite these shortcomings, they still rallied together to help defend Ohio from Confederate invasion. I love this quote. And if you don't understand this, you got to think a minute.
Confederate. No, back up. Confederation.
Did I say Confederation?
What did you say?
Invasion. Sorry, Confederate.
Confederate invasion.
So a Confederate scout was reported that they call them squirrel hunters, farm boys that never had to shoot at the same squirrel twice. In other words, they don't miss.
That's right. Because
in other words, these guys don't miss.
You shoot him the first time.
You shoot him the first time. You don't shoot twice. I love that quote.
You can't. If you miss, your daddy will whoop you.
Whoop you for wasting the lead and powder.
Wasting.
So this is a drawing of what the squirrel hunters typically might have been wearing when they showed up. Now that looks to me like pillow-ticking pants. I don't know what, probably some kind of linsey woolsey coat. He's got a bedroll or something on his back. He's got his.
He can cut the bottom half of them pants off and make patching out of it.
They can use it for patching if they need to. He's got a powder horn over his shoulder, so they weren't. By this time the military actually was using paper cartridges. They weren't pouring powder down a board and then putting a ball in. They had paper cartridges. And these guys, there's a powder horn. He's ramming in the charge. They're squirrel hunters, man. So there's a big article. If you go online,
these are our people.
I'll have to get this link, so bear with me a minute. I'll do this if anybody wants it again. This article was like a big page ad in a newspaper, Cincinnati newspaper. And I didn't try to put the whole thing in. You couldn't have read it anyway. But they're reporting on the success of the squirrel hunters in the Daily Ohio State Journal on September 15th, 1862. This is from something called the Ohio Memory, which is a web page. I hope I've still got those links. I'll have to come back and get those in a minute. Anyway, that was a typical squirrel hunter, and with his dress and his weapons. Okay, so thanks to the actions of Wallace and Todd, Covington and Cincinnati had adequate defenses to repel the Confederate advance within 2 days. So by September 13th, 1862, news reached Cincinnati that the Confederate forces were withdrawing from Kentucky and that Cincinnati was no longer in danger. Wallace earned the nickname Savior of Cincinnati for his actions in September 1862. The squirrel hunters returned home. To thank the squirrel hunters, the Ohio legislature in 1863, this is the following year, authorized funds for General Todd to print discharge papers for all these men from military duty. The discharges thanked the men for their patriotism and their willingness to sacrifice their lives in the defense of Ohio. So squirrel hunters aren't just guys that went out and shot squirrels. They probably did a lot more of that, but they came to the rescue, in this case, of Ohio during the war. I never heard this story before. I found this and I said, I got to talk about this because, I mean, this is a squirrel hunting story I'd never seen. But this is paper. And this is, honest to God, this is a doc of probably like a, what do you call it? Like a, oh crap, like a diploma, that kind of paper it's printed on.
Yeah.
Parchment type paper. And this is actually issued to every volunteer who came to Cincinnati to the squirrel hunters, got one of these papers, which I think would be so damn cool to find one of these in my house that had been passed down. I think that would just be, I'd treasure that.
So my grandpa, my mom's dad, that was born in 1885 or whatever, early. He was an old man when I knew him. He was a squirrel hunter, but not one of these guys, maybe.
Right, just a regular squirrel hunter.
But he talked about, like, before he was born.
Keep talking. I got to step aside. I'm here just listening. Just keep talking.
Men would have a tax applied to them in this state, Ohio, in the southern part of the state at least, that you had to collect so many squirrel scalps, they called it, or you'd be fined. There were so many gray squirrels, and they migrated in those days. It's just odd that these guys got sucked into the war. Anyway. I got dogs talking.
Okay, funny you should say that. I'm going to talk about that.
You are?
Yep. That's the next thing on my list.
Oh, cool.
Now, did you say?
Do you hear my mail border collie saying,
Oh, is that who's talking?
He's singing this morning. It's gray and gross outside. Getting ready to rain. Or hear him?
Listen to him. Yeah, I hear him.
Oh.
So what Mark was saying is wait a minute, I landed here once. Now I'm not sure geographer, but landing there. Oh, you're talking about in Covington, I bet. Going from New York, Albany to Orlando. I hope it was an intentional land, not something they had to do for other problems. So going to what Mark was just talking about. Now, let me ask you a question though before I do that. Did you say that was something that your grandfather remembered having to do or being involved in?
I don't think he was ever. He was born in like 85,
So it's probably kind of after his time or
1885.
before his time.
I think before he was
Yeah.
born.
Okay. Tina says her
What
two hounds are chasing
guys
sunshine.
in Ohio they had a tax placed on them
Right.
to kill gray squirrels.
And wouldn't that be not? Wouldn't that be? Well, they weren't getting paid for it. Well, they kind of were.
Well, if you didn't turn in enough scalps, as
You
they
got
called
taxed.
it, you got taxed.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a minute. For example, now this happened in other times, but let's just go to this particular year. In 1822, herds of this says woodland creatures arrived in Franklin County and led up to what they call the Big Franklin County Hunt. Now, I don't know where Franklin County is in Ohio, but somewhere in Ohio. Many of the people who came into Ohio in this time period in the wake of the American Revolution were a lot like us, probably were. Young or old, rich or poor, they had many of the same hopes and dreams we still do for making a good life for themselves. And do I have notes here? Let's see before we move on. Let me check my notes. Yeah. So, in many ways, these newcomers to a new land were a breed unto themselves. Some of the people still loyal to the British left America for Canada, the Caribbean, or even back to Britain, but many, if not most of the residents of the new United States never left the states where they've been born. They moved from time to time. Americans do like to move. Then as now, though not most, not all, the people who came to Ohio after the Revolution, however, were a different sort. They were a hardy group of many different backgrounds and nationalities. They were travelers from New England and the Middle States, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland. They were Southerners. They were from, descendants of Scots Irish, all those people from Virginia and the Carolinas. They came from all over, almost all the eastern colonies. And so this was something that happened. But it is fair to say that almost all the newcomers to central Ohio were absolutely astonished by what they found here. Most of the land was empty, no people. And that's true. And they talked about what a great land it was. New arrivals from New England, where the major crop in many worked over fields was major crops in New England is rocks. I've seen that. That's why there's so many stone walls. They found topsoil in Ohio. It was deep, 4 and 5 and even 6 feet deep. And I've heard about this in other places too. Mississippi, the guy on the Mississippi story, they talked about how deep the loam was in the Delta and down in that part of the world early on. Deep, dozens of feet deep. It's just this. It was all silt deposit from the river. So you had this probably was a combination of that and what was left over from the glaciers. Anyway, early settlers later wrote of finding the great pickaway in Darby Plains of central Ohio, which I didn't realize were there. Grass is 5 and 6 feet deep. You hear a lot about that in Kentucky, but you don't hear as much about it in Ohio. Do you know where they're talking about?
Yeah, it's up right in the middle of the state.
That's what I figured, it was up in that country. And beyond them, there were the great old growth forest of trees reaching 100 feet and 30 to 40 feet in diameter. That was, I guess, northern part and going towards Michigan, that kind of area. Then there were all kinds of other little things. Buffalo. Now, here's a question I have for you. I don't think this is correct. Put it in there because this is what I've read, but I don't think this is correct. And then there were all these other living things in central Ohio. Early residents found herds of buffalo, elk, and antelope.
They didn't. There weren't no
I
antelope.
don't think there were pronghorn east of
They
the
never
Mississippi.
came in. No,
So I think that's
They
wrong.
didn't even get to the Mississippi.
I didn't think so. They did have
Um,
we did have
east,
buffalo and elk back here.
eastern South Dakota and that part of the world, but not in certainly not in Ohio.
Yeah, I think whoever wrote this got a little overexcited on that part. They talk about the flocks of pigeons. We've talked about passenger pigeons darkening the skies. And most of those were gone in relatively short order, and that's true. They got moved on out as settlers came in. The elk and buffalo either got hunted out, or they got moved out, or they went to areas they weren't very plentiful. I
But
don't know when.
like where mom and dad live, there are great big salt licks there.
Right.
There were tons of bison.
When do you think the last bison disappeared from Ohio, though?
Early. I mean, they killed them out pretty quick.
Late 1700s or earlier?
No, late 1700s, because we weren't really there.
Right. That's what I was thinking too.
Early 1800s, maybe.
Oh, it says the last buffalo in central Ohio was actually seen in 1802.
Yeah, so there you go.
Departure of the great herd saw them. They disappeared. The carnivorous predators disappeared. Many of them, not all of them, but
Yeah.
they didn't have the food sources were gone. And the absence of wolves, jackals, and wildcats. Again, no jackals. The smaller animals in the forest found room to thrive. This is important. Smaller animals thrived. So let's see. Did I back up? What did I just do?
No, you're fine. Maybe.
Yeah, the early settlers later wrote of finding the great. Well, I did read that part. I copied too much.
So Pickaway is down like in that south part of the state.
Okay, now I got it. I'm back. Okay, the forest of Ohio soon gave way to large numbers of animals that are still with us, such as rabbits, possums, skunks, squirrels, especially squirrels. In the late 1820s, most of the central Ohio had been surveyed, bought, sold, and plowed in place. That's very true. The great herds of wild animals were gone, and hunters had to do a bit of looking before they found their prey. Then suddenly the squirrels came a calling. To this day, no one seems to be sure where they all came from or why, but in 1822, an immense herd of squirrels descended upon the Ohio country. Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana saw large herds of squirrels moving across the land. Perhaps a loss of food elsewhere or simple overpopulation drove the herds, but in a land that had not seen herds like this in a generation, they offered a challenge. Franklin County answered with a squirrel hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys, we've talked about this a little bit before. This happened in Kentucky. It happened in Tennessee. These great herds of squirrels would just come washing through. Huh?
Arkansas.
Arkansas, yes. I mean, they moved from east to west as they got too overpopulated. They ran out of food. There could have been all kinds of reasons. I mean, maybe there was an oak blight one year and they didn't have enough nuts to live on. Who knows? But they populated these urban areas just like they are today. I mean, gray squirrel has got to be one of the most numerous, if not the most numerous animal on this continent. I mean, they're just everywhere now. And they would literally come across the countryside, and if you had a patch of corn and they hit your clearing where the corn was, they'd wipe it out. I mean, they would literally eat the whole patch of corn and then move on. That shows two things. One, there were a lot of squirrels, and two, they were probably pretty hungry. So the grand squirrel hunt, this is what it was called. The squirrel, this is the article from this that was in the Columbus Gazette in August 20th, 1822. The squirrels are becoming so numerous in the county as to threaten serious injury, if not destruction, to the hopes of the farmers during the ensuing fall. Much good might be done by a general turnout of all citizens whose convenience will permit for 2 or 3 days in order to prevent the alarming ravages of these mischievous neighbors. It is therefore respectfully submitted to the different townships each to meet and choose 2 or 3 of their citizens to meet in a hunting caucus at the home of Christian Hill on Saturday the 31st at 2 p.m. So they were getting some of their couple or 3 of their major hunters from a certain town, and they were going to form a caucus, and they were going to decide what they were going to do about this squirrel thing. And those guys would go back and gather more hunters. So what followed was a list of 2 persons each from the townships of Franklin County. I don't know how many townships there were in Franklin County, to be present if the townships picked no others, and the list was concluded with a list of the 6 men who were sponsoring the contest. By this point, they're referring to this now as a contest. And that's one way you get people to come out and, I guess, and do it. Another paper said the hunt was conducted agreeably to the instructions of our last paper on counting the scalps. And it has appeared that 19,600 scalps were produced from this one hunt. So they reported at least 19,600 squirrels that they shot for this event. They should have had a great championship squirrel cook-off right then and there. As a great many of the hunters did not come in, so there was probably way more than that. This goes on to say, we think we can safely challenge any other county in the state to kill squirrels with us. So that was all just Franklin County. That wasn't statewide. That was Franklin County. They shot at least 19,600 squirrels. And that was all in an effort to trim the population because they were destroying the crops. And then it says, with their passing, the last of the great herds of pioneer Columbus were gone. Now that's we're talking about 1822, but these things had happened over the year. Ever since settlers had been there, they had happened at different times and stages. I just don't have information on all of them. So that was a big one, but there were subsequent ones all through the seasons for the next 100 years or so, but they weren't nearly as big as this one. So it was a problem, but it wasn't near as big a problem. And then something else happened.
Well, that was such a big deal that my grandpa still talked about it when I was alive. When he was in his 80s, he was still talking about it, and he was not alive when it happened.
I may have done that twice. I'm sorry, guys. Let me move on to the next one here. But yeah, go ahead, Mark. I wasn't trying to stop it.
It was such a big event or occurrence that my grandfather still talked about it, and he wasn't alive when it happened, but he knew about it.
Yeah. Well, this also happened I moved ahead of myself a little too quick here, but in 1822, like I said, this wasn't just in Ohio. Indiana, Kentucky, most of these states had this moving through, at least in that part of the country. So in 1822, there was also a great squirrel invasion in Indiana. And I don't know if I have this printed.
And it's happened more recently in Arkansas and Louisiana. And if you're like a farmer, when thousands of gray squirrels land on your property when you're growing crops, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So there's still some of this going on at times.
Yeah, it's like it's these random squirrel migrations that happen, that I don't think anybody knows why it happens.
And that would make sense if it happened in
If
parts of
it's like a
Ohio,
mass crop failure or what
which does happen.
what what occurs that causes it, but they're like a plague. if,
That's a
if if
well-known
you're a corn farmer, they're a plague.
plague, which there's a lot of in that part of the world, and Indiana and Iowa, and probably get all the way across there because they do swim rivers, which I'm going to mention. Um, it's a little known, something people don't think about if you don't work in this field or if you don't study this kind of thing. But one of the problems with, let's go a little history here for a minute. The probably the greatest food crop, mass crop for wildlife and maybe for humans that ever naturally grew on this country were the chestnut trees. And the chestnuts produce a crop of nuts every year. I mean, just every year. They're so plentiful that everybody used them, gathered them, collected them, sold them in the cities for the roasting chestnuts on an open fire bit. They fed their hogs on them, their chickens, their turkeys, wild turkeys, and deer fed upon them. And then the chestnuts died from the blight. Now, by and large, oak trees eventually, at least, picked up most of that slack or a lot of that slack. But the thing about oak trees is this: they tend to bloom earlier in the year, and they're often frostbit when they bloom, and they don't produce nuts. So you get a mass crop failure that is in this part of the country. It happens every few years, and deer will be less plentiful, or they'll be more plentiful in an area where there are oaks with nuts, not chestnuts, acorns, oak nuts. I prefer to call them. But
Hey,
in some areas, there won't be any nuts at all. I've seen years when white oaks didn't drop anything, and so that's a big deal too, and that can happen. Uh, but oak trees aren't. The chestnut always bloomed. I don't know if it was April or May, but they bloomed late, so they rarely, if ever, got frostbit. But oaks, it does happen, and that on at least certain oaks, white oaks, and that really affects wildlife populations and wildlife density and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so in 1822, uh, the invasion hit Indiana, and we know about this primarily thanks to a guy named Calvin Fletcher and his descendants, because Calvin, he was one of the founders of the Indiana Historical Society, even back in the 1820s, kept a diary from 1817 to 1835. And he was a successful farmer, lawyer, banker, and state legislator. And he wrote down everything about these events. He was a huge figure in the growth of the city. He got to Indianapolis in about 1821. It was still a new settlement. Um, so he talked about the squirrels. He said they crossed the river going west, swimming squirrels in several places, almost countless numbers. So in his diary, Fletcher calls the region's corn crop literally destroyed. And I don't know if this was him or the person that wrote this article said, did you know 12 squirrels could cause as much damage as one hog? So think about that for a minute. According to Fletcher, one farmer claimed to have killed 248 squirrels in 3 days on his corn patch without even making a dent in the scurry. And a scurry or a dray is what they call a herd of squirrels or a large group of squirrels. Fletcher's family donated his diary to the Indiana Historical Society in the 1920s, so 100 years later. And what a wonderful insight into the times, because they were published in several volumes in 1972 and 1983. That'd probably be fun reading. If you want to read them, you can come to our library. You can even look at the origin if you want, original if you want. Oh, that'd be cool. I love handling old stuff. I mean, you have to be so careful with it, but it's so cool handling something that the guy who wrote it, that's what his hands were on. Who knows what other bits of knowledge you might pick up? Nope, this squirrel thing happened again. It wasn't over. It happened again in 1945, but the damage was not as nearly as bad because there weren't as many. So I've got to talk about that. And then this says 1945. Other things I found said 1947. And this is a story about a gentleman by the name of David Freeman. So David Freeman was hunting outside of Quitman. This is in Louisiana when he witnessed one of nature's oddest spectacles of squirrel migration. As he described it, I can hear this too. A cajillion squirrels came through the woods. A cajillion, not just a bunch, but a
cajillion. I like that name.
And they were just running through the trees. And he said it took them 15 minutes for them to all pass by. He said it was loud. It was kind of like a bunch of blackbirds in the wintertime. I don't have any idea why they moved, but I'll never forget it. At the same time, Reverend LaVille Spillers heard of another migration that occurred in the late 40s around Sterlington. I'm not sure where Sterlington is. Back in the late 70s, an old farmer that I deer hunted with told me of a time when he saw a squirrel migration across the Arkansas, Washita River. He said there were thousands, maybe tens of thousands of squirrels that swam across the Washita. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
The migration lasted for several days, if I remember right. Now, memory can be a fickle thing, but he said they were so thick that he believed a man could have walked across the river on them. So there were quite a few squirrels swimming the river. Squirrel migrations are a little understood phenomenon, but they occurred fairly regular in the old days when the number of squirrels was simply staggering. John James Audubon and a companion witnessed one while floating down the Ohio River in 1822, which, that's 3 years before the 1822 event. 1819, which is 3 years before the other one happened. About 100 miles below Cincinnati, we observed large numbers of squirrels swimming across the river, and we continue to see them at various places. So if they're swimming across the river, they're either going to Kentucky or leaving Kentucky. At times they were strewed, as it were.
Can you imagine being like a big old blue catfish or a flathead catfish, like when that's happening? It just like
You reckon a largemouth bass can eat a squirrel?
I don't know, but I know a big blue cat or a flathead could.
Yeah, they could. There's no doubt about it. They've got big enough mouth, and they were big enough back then in the river. There were huge ones at that time, and there still are some big ones. But yeah, they can definitely do that.
Yeah, they definitely could eat a squirrel.
It says at times they were strewn across the whole surface of the water, and some of them, being fatigued, sought a few moments' rest on our long steering oar. So they climbed up on the oars of their boat, which hung into the water. It said the boys along the shores and in boats were killing the squirrels with clubs in great numbers. Kind of like me talking about killing rats in the dump at the dump. In the fall of 1852, people in Wisconsin watched an estimated 500 million squirrels scamper across an area roughly 150 miles long by 130 miles wide. The migration lasted a month. Squirrels were even reported running through the open prairie miles from the nearest trees. Another large migration occurred in September 1881 near Reelfoot Lake, Tennessee. A newspaper reported squirrels are crossing the Mississippi River in fabulous numbers. They're caught by the dozens by men in skiffs. They enter and pass through cornfields, destroying everything as they go. See, that was 1881. Said 4 years later, one of the largest known squirrel migrations took place when a mass of rodents left northeastern Mississippi and headed to Arkansas. One of several newspapers that recorded and reported on the event declared they were crossing the Mississippi from innumerable points along a line 25 miles long. They're traveling in thousands, and the people who live along their line of march are killing them with sticks in countless numbers. Enterprising men are following them in wagons, slaughtering as they go and shipping the carcasses to the nearest market. So they weren't going to waste. They were using these squirrels. They were either eating them or selling them to the open market, because back then wild game was sold in markets all over the country. Fish, ducks, squirrels in this case. I never thought about market hunting for squirrels. Why not? I guess they would. Muskrat, yeah. They seem to have lost.
I mean marsh rabbit.
Marsh rabbit.
Turtles.
All that stuff. Some of which got way over hunted. That's what happened to the passenger pigeon. I mean, they were an agricultural pest. They were that. That's what I was going to say.
They were considered that. They weren't.
They were also a delicacy in big cities.
And they were a delicacy. And we took a species that was maybe one of the most abundant creatures on the planet.
Yeah, and
killed them all. And killed them all.
I think the last passenger pigeon died in maybe the Cincinnati Zoo.
Cincinnati Zoo.
And somewhere in the 1920s, I think, or maybe not even, maybe before that. I can't remember her name. I used to know her name. I wrote something about that when I was in grade school, actually, when I was in the 5th grade.
We decided they were a varmint and killed them all.
Yeah. Most famous squirrel migration in modern times, according to this article, took place in the eastern United States in September 1968. Hell, we ought to remember this one, or at least I ought to. Hundreds of dead squirrels were found on highways, and people reporting finding large numbers of drowned squirrels in New York's Hudson. Well, we might not have been in our part of the country. In New York's Hudson River and in the TVA lakes around the Smoky Mountains. But there you go. In a week's time, 117 carcasses were fished out of the Cheowa Dam Raceway. I know where that's at. A biologist who investigated the event estimated the number of dead squirrels found on the highways to be 1,000 times the normal. Considering how many squirrels get hit on the highways around here, that'd be a lot of squirrels. 1,000 times the normal. That would be a lot of squirrels.
Well, they had a big migration that happened just like 10 years ago in Louisiana and Arkansas, like a huge one. So
I'm catching back up here.
I don't know how well they documented it, but
I don't know if that's in here or not. But
it was big. The guys that were hunting in that south half of Arkansas and the northern half of Louisiana were like,
this next
holy buckets, look at all the squirrels.
And this next sentence or two,
you might be a slide behind, buddy. I don't know.
I may be. Wait a minute. Was I there? I was there, wasn't I? No. Well, this is where my notes are, so I'm going to stay here for a minute.
All right.
I moved it accidentally. I had to come back. Now I got to find it again. Okay. No one knows exactly why squirrels move in such massive numbers. The migrations almost always occur in September. That makes sense to me, I think. And it's only gray squirrels that seem to do this sort of thing. I've never heard of any others. If it was something like fox squirrels, they'd be running along the ground. They don't travel through trees very well. They tend to fall out. They're too big and awkward. red squirrels don't get this numerous. I'm sure they overpopulate areas at times, but not to the extent gray squirrels do. Some biologists have speculated that unknown psychological factors or an unusual flea infestation may cause the migrations. I'm not sure that's ever been proven, but the most logical explanation is that the squirrels are reacting to overcrowded conditions and lack of food, I would say. Squirrel migrations often follow a couple of exceptionally successful breeding seasons, so squirrels may instinctively know that the existing food supply will not support their numbers, and they respond by leaving the region. Surprisingly, squirrel numbers don't increase in those areas. Surprisingly, squirrel numbers don't increase in those areas where they migrate to because they apparently few survive the journey. The published accounts of squirrel migrations frequently mention that most of the tree rats drown, die of exhaustion, or are killed by people and predators along the way. Wow, can you imagine squirrels traveling so fast through the trees that they literally die of exhaustion? They're moving fast. They're moving along if they're doing that. Similarly, the areas vacated do not suffer any long-term decline. No, they don't. In squirrel numbers, because when numbers are favorable, conditions are favorable, the squirrels have 2 litters per year, and the population quickly rebounds. A little bit like English sparrows. And I believe I can now document with actual facts that English sparrows can reproduce as many as 3 or 4 nest clutches a year because I've seen them do it on my porch.
Yeah, me too.
And Brenda says we've got
Even here at 7,000 feet, we have at least 4
we've got a bluebird box out
clutches per year.
that
And
got occupied by English sparrows instead of bluebirds this year, and they've had at least 3 litters. And if Brenda's in there, she can say if there may have been 4. In fact, she's a little concerned they may be hatching off a clutch right now. I hope it's.
I bet they are. I bet they are. Mine are still like stuffing stuff up in the eaves, and
well, that's what ours are doing too. So they may be.
and I'm like, you sorry sons of bucks.
Yeah,
Like,
it probably means I'm
do
going to
you
go.
want to be the only species of bird on the planet? Then I got to figure out a way to start eating you.
Yeah, we need to figure out a way. There's got to be a way. We're going to have so many English sparrows come back here next year. It's not even going to be funny.
We have caused our problem, I think, because we have chickens.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah,
feeding the
so
chickens.
we have chickens, and the sparrows eat chicken food,
and they get in your house, chicken house, don't they?
and they just like go in and out from the chicken house to the eaves, and
Do they stay there in the winter?
And then we feed birds because we have birds we want to feed, but they get to eat too.
Right, that's what we've got. That's what goes on here.
And at some point, it's like, okay.
Well, it's like you can declare jihad on them, but eventually they just kind of wear you down.
I mean, I've set up mist nets in the chicken house and catch mostly starlings because the English sparrows are savvy.
Yeah, they don't fly that.
They don't fly into the mist net, and I had a trap that was really effective. I was catching lots of them, but then I caught like 5 lazuli bunnings in 1 week, and
that's not good.
I was like, no, I'm out.
Yeah. See, that's the problem. You can't control that population without damaging your native, the birds you want. Make sure want.
Yeah, the birds I want here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
these are just some pictures I threw in of people squirreling at night. Honestly, I love the woman in the
I
top. It's got
love the woman with the quiver of arrows and the
yeah, and the
little
squirrel.
baby on her back and a dead squirrel.
I just noticed, Mark. Look at the guy in the lower left.
And I love the guy on the bottom left with the feist dog.
Got a dog.
Got a feist dog and a shotgun and
You got a fistful of
whole pile of squirrels.
Yeah. Look at the barrel on. He's got a double barrel shotgun, and that thing goes from his belt all the way down to his left knee. That barrel must be 36 inches long.
I bet.
Which is really long because today's shotgun barrels are rarely over 28 maybe at the most. You see a lot of shorter ones now because of chokes and loads and whatnot. But I mean, that's a really long shotgun.
But look at that beautiful feist dog. And a feist is not a breed; it's a size.
It's a size, yeah.
It's a size of dog. Where'd we go?
Oh, did I look? Oh man, hang on a minute. I turned this off accidentally.
Well, we're on. You and I
yeah, we're on, but I cut off the.
You cut off what we were talking about.
Did.
Daggone it.
Hang on a minute.
Dadgummit.
Dadgummit. Okay, I cut off. I'm still learning how to use my notes. And when I shut my notes down, I shut everything down. Now.
There we go. Now we're back.
Yeah, was somebody asking about the feist dog?
I was talking about the feist dog.
Tina, actually, he'd shoot from. Well, if you shot too close, you're right. You could rip a squirrel apart. So they don't usually shoot when they're that close when you're using a shotgun like that. I'll have to admit. Do I have a top screen of this? Of which, Tina? Of what I was reading? I may. If I don't, I can produce that and post a link to it. Hey, Chuck, you made it back, buddy. Good to see you. One of our questions of our language: why are acorns called acorns when they come from oak trees? Tina, I have been asking that question for years. That's why I refer to them as oak nuts. I bet since oaks were in Europe, that name could have come over from there. I don't know.
I call them acorns.
Well, sometimes I do too, but I like to call them oak nuts. That makes some people aggravated.
I don't call them acorns. I call them acorns.
Well, acorns, yeah. That's because you're hillbilly.
Because I'm an Appalachian.
You can't help it.
As are you.
Acorns.
Acorns.
That's a nice.
That's a cool looking.
This is a nice group of squirrels.
That's like a Michigan limit of squirrels right there. There's a black squirrel in there, so yeah. I assume they're hunting in Michigan.
Well, there's a good chance of that. Do you think
the only place I've ever seen black squirrels personally?
Well, me too, but I mean these look almost big enough to be fox squirrels, but they don't have a fox squirrel face to me.
They do not.
But they're big. They look pretty healthy. Of course, I don't have a lot to compare them with either. I wish they'd put a.
I mean, that black squirrel's going to be a gray squirrel.
Yeah, he does look like he looks like a gray.
And those other ones are probably red squirrels, actually.
Tina, I'm kind of guessing that, but they did have oak trees in Europe of some species. So that's why I'm guessing maybe that name acorn came over from them. I've never looked it up. I'll see what natives called them, but they probably didn't call them oak trees either, though. So
they probably called them something way cooler.
Yeah, way cooler. I like these old guys down there at the bottom. They're probably market hunting. They've got a bunch of squirrels. Well, they may have been for home, and a couple of birds in there. Oh no, yeah, a couple of birds in there too, I think.
Yeah.
That one guy with the vest and the derby hat, he looks a little out of place, but
Yeah, you used to be able to go out and just like hunt meat.
yeah, yeah. My grandfather supposedly. Now I never went out with him to do this, and he never sat down and told at his knee and told me this. But my uncles told me this. So you got to bear a little bit of, got to take a little bit of salt with, put a little salt with this. But they said he market hunted. He had they used to brag about it because they said he had an L.C. Smith shotgun, and he used to market hunt some in the local. He would hunt, of course, for the family, but he'd also sell some of his like quail to a local restaurant, a hotel that had a
Yeah.
restaurant, and they would buy them from him, and then they would cook them up for their guests,
Which was common.
which was common. They got
I
a little,
mean, if you were like late 1800s, early 1900s, it was common.
yeah. He
And
probably didn't
probably
get a lot of
earlier
money
than
for 'em,
that. But you went out and harvested stuff and you sold it.
and you brought home what you needed to eat, and you sold the rest, and had a little money in your pocket too. So
You went out and caught terrapin turtles
yeah,
and sold them
and went out and
because people
caught
wanted
quail
to eat them.
and squirrels and rabbits and all that kind of stuff.
Marsh
They
rabbits.
have black squirrels.
You went out and set your conibears for marsh rabbits,
And
or
you
your
sold
leg
them at
your
restaurants.
leg holds for marsh rabbits, and you sold them.
Tina, I suspect that those black squirrels, there's probably a band across. I think I'm like Mark, because I've only ever seen them up your way or Ohio or northern, Michigan area. They probably run kind of along that band, or maybe it shouldn't have anything to
I don't think they exist out of like from New York to Michigan, maybe into Wisconsin a little bit. I don't think they exist.
Well, there's a black squirrel of some kind out west, isn't there? But he's not complete. They're not completely black, I don't think.
Now we don't have any black squirrels, but there's
Okay.
there's a fox squirrel on the Delmarva Peninsula in John's country that's black.
Okay.
But he's got a white nose.
Well, they do fox squirrels down here tend to have white
And then,
noses, but they're
and
not
then
black.
every now and again you'll find one of those color phases down in Tennessee or somewhere else.
I've heard of them.
But those black gray squirrels just
They're cool.
seem to exist in a kind of a crescent from New York to maybe to eastern Wisconsin.
Tell you something else that would be cool to you and I, at least. Look how heavy the tails and how thick the fur is on those squirrels.
I think I would be making something out of every one of them.
Yeah, I would too. Down here, gray squirrel tails tend to be sometimes they're nice and fluffy, but they're not thick like those are.
No.
If you get the right angle, they're thinner than they look. Those aren't thin. That's thick. That black
It looks like a mink tail.
On him.
Heavy, heavy, heavy.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think I have one more picture here. So I had to throw these two in because I started out. This started out about killing moose and squirrel, and down at the bottom,
my favorite bad guys ever.
And then again, you always see them. They're trying to do something to Rocky and Bullwinkle. They got the bomb behind Bullwinkle, who doesn't notice it at all. But I love the one up in the top left because there's Bullwinkle with his head through the wall, his feet in the fireplace. Rocky's holding the table up, and Boris and Natasha are scheming there. They've got sneaky plan, it says. I pulled up some. I watched a few cartoons yesterday while I was doing this because I couldn't resist. And the guy that always sent them after I found a site where they had shown these videos, and people had commented on them. They were like, why were they always after moose and squirrel? And people were throwing out all kinds of ideas. It was a Cold War thing, which is probably as true as anything. But then somebody else said, because Evil Leader told them to. I think it's Evil Leader. I think that was his name. You only saw him once in a while. He always he always had a monocle in one eye.
Yeah.
Evil Leader. But I thought that particular drawing was just perfect. And of course, on the other end, you got just a group of hunters.
Yeah, that top left, that's the best one ever.
Oh, so anyway, guys, that is the end. And what they pull a rabbit out of my hat, but this time he got Rocky. Usually it was some lion or tiger.
It was a tiger head normally.
Oops, wrong hat.
Let me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Oh, wrong hat.
Wrong hat. Okay, am I doing that? What am I doing? Oh,
no.
It just hadn't caught up with me yet. So, anyway.
Sorry my light's bad today, buddy. But
it's okay.
It's gray outside.
Your voice sounds good. I mean, we can hear you just fine. Evil Leader. It was evil. Yeah, Evil Leader. I thought it was. Not too complicated, but mean.
Evil Leader.
I joke with Dean that we have big squirrels. There's our babies. You guys do have big squirrels. Not compared to a fox squirrel, though. I'm telling you, you see a fox squirrel up in a tree, you think it's
like a house cat.
They're like a house. I've known how. I bet I've shot a fox squirrel through it. Weighed as much as, if not more than, our little cat. It's a house.
Yeah.
Black squirrels certainly are. Yes, they are, Brenda. They are beautiful. Now we probably talked about this before too. But when you talk about doing things with squirrels besides eating them, you can. This used to be a big deal. It still is a deal that people do, but you don't hear much about it. Is that you can sell them. You can sell at least the tails to people who make fishing flies, and particularly Maps, the company Maps, because they put them on spinners and all kinds of different baits, and they'll buy your squirrel tails from you.
I still remember us going to Sheboygan. We weren't meaning to go to Sheboygan.
No, we didn't mean to be there.
But the truck breaking down on our way to the Boundary Waters and having to stay there for a few days.
Yep.
Couple days. And
all things considered, I guess they got that done fairly quick.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we were there 3 days, I think, maybe.
But the fact that we were there and there were all those black squirrels everywhere. They were everywhere.
First time I looked out,
it was like, oh my God, it's a miracle. There's black gray squirrels.
I got excited because there were black gray squirrels out there in the trees.
Everywhere.
And I thought, that is cool. And I tried to take a bunch of pictures of them, and I got some. But I'd never seen a black squirrel, so I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
We didn't have them.
Tina says they have a friend who makes his own fishing flies, but he also gets his own squirrels. So he collects his own squirrels and uses them. That's good. That's a good use.
If you're going to harvest a critter for meat, you should use all the parts that you can.
That's not nice.
That's
we.
not nice.
She said, "Does anybody mean to go to Sheboygan?" Well, maybe not, but I tell you what,
I thought it was a pretty cool place, actually.
well, we camped. We camped right on the edge of Lake Huron while we were there, and I remember thinking how and Mark and I got out in the canoe until a big ship came along, and we decided to get the hell off that water. And that was
And
big.
we surfed back to the beach.
That water was so clear, though. I was so surprised at how clear the water was, and I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool, but we weren't there for any other reason. We were stuck. We were just getting ready to cross the bridge, Mackinac Bridge, and the transmission in the truck crapped out. If we just 2 more minutes, and we'd have been up in the middle of that bridge.
We'd have been in hell.
We'd had to get somebody to come get us, tow us back across and over, and I mean, but we got the transmission replaced, and kept moving. But we were there for a couple of days. We certainly didn't mean to be.
But we would never have seen the museum.
No, we would have seen the squirrels.
We would never have seen the museum at Mackinac Island, or at Mackinac, not Island.
Mackinac, yeah.
At Mackinac. We'd never seen that. We would never have seen all those black squirrels.
We also did go to Mackinac Island one day for a little while, if you recall.
So it was all grand.
Yeah, it worked out. It wasn't where we were supposed to be. Maybe it was. Maybe we were supposed to be there. It wasn't where we thought we were going yesterday. The bad part about it was, other than costing money, the bad part about it was I had to get on the phone, which back then we weren't using cell phones. I had to get on the phone and contact the people up in the Boundary Waters, because I don't know how it works right now, but back then you had to set a date when you were going to be there,
right,
to go out, and because that's how they control numbers and how many people are out there at any given time in the Boundary Waters area, and they're kind of strict about that, because there's always people waiting to go. There's always other people wanting to go, and I had to call and get that moved back a day or two so we wouldn't miss our date. And we got there, and it was fine. We worked it out, but I was worried about that for a little bit. But once we were there, like Mark says, the squirrels were kind of cool, and the fort was great. I loved that. And we did go over to Mackinac Island one day for a little while and look around, and that was kind of neat too. I think your mom and dad have gone back there a few times, haven't they?
Several times.
Yeah, I need to take Brenda up there, because it's really neat.
They've been there a dozen times probably.
Well, Tina, what'd you think of your uncle's squirrel when he cooked it for you, or your friend? I mean, not uncle. Oh, I'm thinking about getting what's left of my lifetime hunting license.
I love squirrel,
so I can start hunting a few squirrels again. I haven't hunted squirrels in several years now, and I miss it.
If you put it in some dumplings, it's the best meal ever on the planet.
It is.
Next to morel mushrooms and bluegill fillets, it's the best meal on the planet.
I like morel mushrooms. I've never had them with bluegill fillets, but I'm sure they're good that way.
Well, you just fry your morels up and you fry your bluegills up, and
they're not mixed together.
And my God, is that good? And that's all the food. That's all the food groups you need.
A fungus and a fish.
We were watching something last night. Baseball game, probably. And there was a guy named Morel. His last name was Morel. And I'm like, that's the coolest last name I've ever seen.
What was it that Ken? Gloria, that's top of my head. I had thought. What was it? Wasn't there something you and Ken Silva used to go fishing?
Oh, we would make
You would have bluegill
we would
fillets.
fry bluegill fillets and eat peanut butter sandwiches. And
Yeah.
it was some kind of like really cheap brand of peanut butter,
Uh-huh.
but it was the best ever. And tomato soup.
And tomato soup.
And I think that just makes me salivate to think about it. It's just like,
I miss
oh
Ken.
my
I miss
God,
Ken.
that was
He was
I
he was
miss
such
I
a nice
miss
guy.
that man.
Yeah.
I
He was
miss
such a nice guy. He really was. That
he was a
Tina, if
grand
you're
he
not,
was a grand human being, rest in peace.
may you rest in
He
peace.
was a grand human being.
Tina, if you told me your friend in West Virginia's last name was Triplehorn, I'd probably just close this thing down and quit. Because if you are,
Is
if he
that
was,
did she just say that?
no, she didn't. But it, this
Oh
is a
my
true,
God.
this is a true story. I've met a couple people in the years since that they talk about somebody they know in West Virginia, and I say something like, "I know a guy that lives up there. He was working on a game preserve up there," and they said, "John Triplehorn,"
Ah,
and
ah.
I'm like, "Yeah, John Triplehorn." So it does happen.
John Triplehorn, who was a highway patrolman in southern Ohio forever,
Yeah.
and then moved back to his home state of West
Was
Virginia.
that where he was from? I knew he moved back to do what
Yeah,
he.
he moved back over to where he had been born and raised over in West Virginia.
Okay, this guy's name is George Arbogast. So no, it wasn't.
But
It's not John Triplehorn.
doesn't matter.
Ask
He's
him if he knows a Triplehorn.
Arbogast. That's a good squirrel hunter name.
Well, it certainly is. Well, my
I
buddy
think I think I've bought lures from people that's their last name.
maybe it sounds familiar actually. My buddy Martin High that I worked with at TVA, he's the one that used to. He goes, as far as I know, he still goes up and sees John. If I'm not mistaken, John's still with us. At least he was a couple years ago. And
Goes up to see John.
yeah, him and John are old friends. And he goes up there and hunts with her, or hunts on. Marty has property up there too somehow. I don't know if he's from there. I don't think he's from there, but maybe he had family there at one time. And he goes up there and hunts every year. He hunts other places like Africa. He's also been to Africa 2 or 3 times now.
John.
But he knows John. That's the one we got to talking about it. And I said, you cannot be talking about John Triplehorn. And he said, yeah. He said, why? I said, I know him. I've met him a couple of times. And I said, so yeah, it happens. That's why. I mean, I thought, wow, that is so weird that such an.
I remember John, like, he had a muzzleloading shotgun with a percussion cap, double barrel shotgun, and he thought he would fire a cap out of that gun
to clear the nipple.
He was getting ready to go hunting, and he kind of pointed it at his bird dog, and then he's like, nah, I don't need to do that. So he turned it to the side and like touched her off and like boom.
Oh,
and it was still loaded from last bird season.
he was the last person that I ever would have thought to do something like that.
And he was just like, oh my God, what did I almost just do?
Kill my favorite dog.
Kill my bird dog with, like, anyway.
See this right here? This is my lesson.
It's the only time he did that. What's that?
I said, this is my lesson. Hang on. This.
Oh, I had a lesson. So Dad and I are hunting squirrels, ground squirrels in Montana. And I cracked back the hammer on my old crack shot, my Stevens crack shot, single shot. Didn't, like, the squirrel went back down the hole, ground squirrel, went back down the hole, and I didn't take the hammer off. And I was walking behind Dad and, like, somehow, like, touched the trigger and cracked that off behind Dad. Next thing I felt was a boot.
Yeah. Yes, I bet it
And
was.
then I lost my rights to use my rifle for a year over that deal.
Long time, buddy.
Yeah. Gun safety's a real deal.
Gun safety is a real deal. And when it happens to somebody like John Triplehorn.
And I was like 10 years old. It's a real deal. You learn early, you learn forever.
Yeah. But I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you a picture or something. I'm going to hope I don't get in trouble for this.
You hope you don't get in trouble.
This is what I'm wanting. Speaking of single shots, I think I'm going to try to get me one of these.
Oh, that's a beauty.
And it will probably have to have.
What is that?
I don't know who it is. This is pictures in
No,
a cat.
what is the rifle?
Oh, it's a Henry, single shot Henry.
Oh yeah.
And they make them in 243, 30-aught.
I like the heck out of that thing.
308. I'd like to get one in 243, and I saw one the other day in a gun store locally. Not that I was looking, mind you.
And don't get in trouble.
I don't want to get in trouble for
talking about guns.
Yeah, but I want one. I want one of those, and I want one. Dang it! I turned my screen off. Hang on. I want one of those, and I'm gonna get me one of those in a long range caliber like 243, and I'm gonna come out and see you, and we're gonna go shoot something.
We're gonna go hunt a pronghorn or something.
If I have to start putting in applications today, I just I like that rifle. The more I look at it, I never thought I liked a break open single shot. Even though I love drop blocks and things like that, I just never wasn't as great. And then I realized some of the most beautiful and magnificent rifles in the whole wide world are break open double barrels and stuff from out. So I thought, well, why not?
Exactly. Exactly.
They also make another thing that I'd kind of
dude. It'd be so cool if you'd come out and we could go like look for a speed goat. Oh my God.
That's a good name. I like that.
It's a good name. It's an accurate name.
It's
a pretty accurate. They're not goats, but they do have speed.
No, they're not goats, but still, people call them goats. That's a poor animal that's stuck in a position in the world where it was known as an antelope. It's been called a goat. It's been called all kinds of things, and it's none of those things.
It's
It's
not related to anything.
Yeah, it's an individual species.
It's a critter that there used to be 5 or 6 of them, and they're all gone except one.
Except that one, the pronghorn.
And it's only closest, not even close, but closest relatives are giraffes and okapis,
That's hilarious.
which is like ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just the strangest thing to think about.
And
But
and that's been like millions of years of
yeah, long,
change.
long time ago.
But the world's the only critter in the world that sheds its horn sheaths every year, only critter on the planet.
Just the sheaths, though, just the outer layers.
Yeah, not the core, not the bone, but the outer layer of its horn. Its horn. It's the
You
only
know
critter.
something
It's the only critter on the planet that
that
does
does
that.
that. You know something I don't know
Which
if
are
I.
cool because I love picking them up out in the desert.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. I don't think I've ever seen one without the outer sheath. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a picture.
Oh,
What that looks like.
I'll take one for you. I'm
Okay.
sure somebody of mine will shoot one this year where we reach down and grab the horn and the horn comes off.
When do they generally shed? Oh,
Typically later, like December, but
but still this winter. I mean,
if
between
you shot one in like late October and grabbed it by the horn hard enough to drag it, you could like pop that horn off, you know.
I'm going to assume that my wife is asking you about antelope or pronghorn. Did they taste good, Mark? That's a question to you, I think.
Did they? I love them.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of Mark's.
But you have to take care of them right. You can't throw them in the bed of a pickup truck and drive around with them all day in the hot sun and then expect them to taste like anything. You have to put them in ice and take care of them.
Which you should do with anything.
But it's one of my favorite meats, actually.
Oh, I'd always heard that it was real sagey, and a lot of people said they didn't like it. But when I ate it with you, I thought it was really good.
It's very sagey. It can be, but we take care of them, and we
can a lot of it, don't you?
And I can them, and I think it's perfect meat. But
one of the things about canning meat like you do that I don't know, maybe we've talked about this too, but just the act of canning it because you're pressure cooking it makes it tender. I mean, that has to help tenderize.
Oh yeah, makes it way tender. And we can it and then make like green chili stew or burritos out of it.
I have an idea. We need to do a show, and we need to talk about some antelope pronghorn recipes. I'm serious, or wild game recipes.
I'm good with that.
I need to get. I don't know who else I can call that I might could get on that's cooked with that does a lot of wild game cooking. I need to find somebody that would boost us up there. And I'm working on this. I want to get Dave back on and hopefully Steve back on. So,
those are two guys that I bet cook a lot of wild stuff,
or have in their lifetime anyway.
Doesn't even mean if it's game or not. They eat a lot of fish, I'm sure.
Dave does, yeah. Steve does too, I'm sure. Has. I mean, I don't know how much he's doing right now, but he was a big bird hunter. He used to go to Michigan every year and bird hunt, and somewhere up in the UP. And he also went to school at Michigan State for a while, so I guess that's how he got started going up there to hunt. But he used to hunt grouse up there every year. Don't know if he's ever ate a baby.
But I mean, you can't take a rough grouse and treat it like a chicken. Even a rough grouse, which is the best of the best of the best, as far as I'm concerned, you still can't treat it like it's a barnyard chicken.
Right.
You got to do a little more to it, but it makes a good meal, fine meal. Dog makes a fine meal.
That's a line from a book or a movie, guys. Don't get too excited.
Don't get excited.
Mark's not eating his dogs.
That's from the Patriot. Dog
The
makes
Patriot,
a fine
yeah.
meal.
I thought it was a movie. Well, buddy,
Mel Gibson said it. I didn't.
Oh, Mel Gibson did say it.
Dog makes a fine meal. And they probably do.
They probably do.
But not at my house. So
there's some things you draw a line at least up till now.
Horses and dogs no make fine meal in my house. But in other people's homes, they've made many fine meals. So
I moved off the screen again. Hang on a minute. There I am. Anyway, I think we've lost most of our audience, buddy, so I guess we might as well call it a day.
All right, brother.
I've enjoyed it. Good. Hope you get feeling better.
It was fun. I feel a lot more like I do right now than I did a while ago.
Oh, so, that's good. That's always good.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Yesterday was rough. Not rough, but crappy.
I wondered if you were running the way. I hadn't heard from you in a few days, so I kind of wondered if you.
Yeah, I just had the Epizuti.
I've been running all week. I had to go to Knoxville 2 days.
I feel quite a bit better today. I'm wore out, but feel better in general. So
I had to go down Wednesday for something really important, but for sort of all of a sudden doctor visit. I had to get an appointment. It wasn't anything. Turned out it wasn't. I mean, nobody said it was a big deal. Turns out it wasn't near as big a deal. But I needed to get some prescriptions refilled, and the nurse I talked to said, "Oh, you need to come see us. You hadn't been down here in so many months." And I thought, well, I don't always come down there for so many months.
What the hell I need to see you for?
Well,
at all? If I don't feel
but I did get my flu shot, so I guess I'm good there. And
the grandbabies were out. One of them was coughing a bit. My daughter started coughing a bit, and then I started coughing a bit, and now I'm like, oh, I think I'm over it.
Chuck, thank you, and have a great week too. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend, you and Tina both. Again, Chuck, you weren't here earlier. Thank you guys so much for the gifts, the coffee, the mug, tumbler. I'm not sure exactly what we call this yet. Today I don't have anything in it because I knew
that's a tumbler. That's a tumbler, man.
A tumbler, yeah, but it's insulated, so it's gonna be. It's either gonna have coffee in it for me, or it's gonna have maybe a Pepsi in it. You never know. Pepsi probably with some ice.
Which would be, man? God, that sounds good.
What's that? Pepsi on ice?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound good. They are good. Oh, me. Anyway, guys, everybody that's left, if you are left, everybody have a great Brenda saying thank you.
Look at that hand. God dang, what the hell happened to it?
Why is that hand so deformed like that?
What is that?
What have you been doing with that hand?
Why does that look like that?
Anyway, thank you guys. Have a great week. Mark, take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you in a day or two or something.
I'll be good, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Love you.
Love you too, bud. See you later.
Later on.
All right, guys.
How do I get out of here?
Coke is in a red can. Everybody knows what that means. Anyway, see you guys. See you next week, hopefully. Well, not hopefully. I'll see you next week. Something may be coming up though in the next 2 weeks. Just I'll say this before I go off, even though everybody's probably gone, but me. The pumpkin festival is coming up in 2 weeks, and I may not be able to live stream it, but I may go down there and try to record it. So we'll see. Bye.